This video is sponsored by Timbro. Writing down sheet music, writing down musical notation can be tricky. Like any written language, there are grammar rules and syntax rules that you're meant to follow. So today we're going to look at a whole range of slightly embarrassing sheet music mistakes, so I can explain to you where they went wrong so you don't have to. And let's start with my favourite and potentially most tragic genre of sheet music mistake, and that is the sheet music tattoo. And of course, maybe accuracy of notation wasn't the goal with these tattoos, maybe they were just done for the aesthetics, so please don't think I'm being too mean, I'm just trying to point out where the sheet music may or may not be right. So let's start with this one, and right off the bat we've got a really common mistake, which is drawing the treble clef wrong. The treble clef here has been drawn the wrong way round, it needs to be reflected. And then when we look at the music itself, I'm guessing they were aiming for something to be in 4/4 time, right? You know, the common time signature. But this first bar here actually has one too many eighth notes to be 4/4. So we effectively have a bar of 9/8 followed by a bar of 4/4. Let's move on to this one. This is a Beatles one, as you can see. It is a bit from Let It Be, but the sheet music here has got a couple mistakes in it. The first being that at the end, the tie, I think they meant to have the tie between these two notes, because otherwise we have one too many notes happening in the phrase. But also, if you look at the lyrics are in no way lined up with the notes that they are meant to be played with. So this next one is really close. It's meant to be an excerpt from You Are My Sunshine, and it's really, really close, apart from this note here is it's meant to be an A sharp, but they've written a B sharp, so they've basically written it one line too high. So I've actually found two separate examples of people with an All You Need Is Love tattoo, and both are similar enough that I think they got the idea from the same place. And unfortunately, this sheet music is almost but not quite correct. The problem here is that this first note here, it shouldn't be there. It should just be a quarter note rest. We don't need that note G there, because as you can see from the lyrics, there is no word to be sang on that note of the melody. And there's actually another detail that both of these tattoos have got a little wrong, which is that this eighth note here should have a dot on it. It should be a dotted eighth note. Otherwise, the bar doesn't add up to 4/4. It actually just adds up to 15/16. So here we've got two big mistakes. We've got a really mangled treble clef here. I don't really know how it managed to get that bad. But we've also got another really common mistake, which is that these notes are the wrong way round. They're reflected the wrong way. Musical notes can look like this, or they can be rotated 180 degrees like this, but they can't look like this. But this is a really common thing. We'll see it in some of the other examples we're going to look at later in this video. And you can imagine how it happens, where if you don't actually read sheet music, you wouldn't look at that and see anything is wrong. It's a bit like if you didn't read Japanese, you wouldn't look at these characters and think anything was wrong. But actually, they have all been reflected, making them basically meaningless. But to somebody who doesn't read that language, they don't know any different. And here we actually have Lady Gaga getting a tattoo, and it's a very basic musical tattoo. I don't really know why you would choose to get this very simple bit of music notation on your arm, but the problem with this one, as you might be able to spot, is that we're missing a staff line. But thankfully, this is one of those mistakes where you can easily fix it, and that is what she did. Now, this one I almost don't want to criticize this one because obviously it's not meant to be true notation. It's meant to be more stylistic, but I struggle a bit with this because it's meant to say music, right? But the thing is, the treble clef in the middle, it's being used as an S, but a treble clef isn't just a random symbol. A treble clef is a stylized G. That is a G there. This is a G. So this doesn't say music necessarily. It might say muggic because that's a G. But also we have a bass clef here, and although it's the wrong way round, the bass clef is actually a stylized F. Once again, you know, the clefs aren't random symbols, they are stylized versions of note names, because basically how a clef even works is you are putting a note on one of the lines. So for example, we're putting G, the treble clef, on this line, and it means that this line is G, and from that we can work out what all of the other lines are. So a moment ago I was saying about how easy it is to get musical notes reflected the wrong way round, and we can see that not just on tattoos but on other things, on gifts and products you can buy. So for example, on this t-shirt, most of these notes are correct, but it's almost like trying to spot the odd one out. Can you see which one is the wrong one? It is this one. This note is reflected the wrong way around. Same again on the skirt, although there's a few more examples here of wrong notes. These notes are all the wrong way around. On this musical clock, they have almost got all of the notes right, except one. Can you spot which one is wrong? Yes, it's this one here. This one is reflected the wrong way around. And here, well, earlier we were talking about how treble clefs are often botched, and here we actually have a treble clef that has been reflected the wrong way around. So this next one isn't musical notation, but it's similar, and it's one of those things where, you know, whoever made this, they had one job and they still got it wrong. So look at this musical keyboard tie and tell me what's wrong with it. Yes, it's missing a note. It's missing one of the white notes. There should be a white note here in the tie. So this next one is an animated music video made for the legendary Ray Charles song, What I Say. And it's right here that we have the problem. Can you see that we have too many black notes? We have 4 black notes in this group here rather than 3. And later in the video, they do have correct keyboards, so it's not like they didn't know what a keyboard looked like, but just at that earlier moment, they, for some reason, thought there was 4 black notes in that gap. Now, this one is so bad, I almost feel like a human being couldn't have made this. I feel like this is AI who has created this. Well, let's talk about the musical keyboard first. Obviously, I think even a child could tell you that that was completely incorrect. Unless this is meant to be some sort of crazy Zen harmonics keyboard, but no, that is completely wrong. And looking at the musical notes up above, some of them don't look like, some of them look really close to musical notes, but are actually in no way a musical note. And many of them are either missing a note head or the lines don't meet up. I don't think a human being could have made this. I think it is too bad. So this next one is a particular print for a t-shirt, which it seems many different companies have had a go at with varying success. So the gag is, these are difficult times, in the suggestion that, you know, we're going through tough times. But the joke is that the time signatures on the t-shirt are difficult times. But what's really interesting is that on different t-shirts, the complexity or even sort of validity of the time signatures varies. This is probably one of the best ones. 5/4 time, yeah, that's hard. 11/8, that's hard as well. 17/16, now that is something that's technically possible, but really quite difficult. So yeah, that is an accurate version of this t-shirt. But then we also have this beauty. 13/8, that makes sense. 7/5. Now, you can kind of have a time signature with a 5 on the bottom. It's something called an irrational time signature, but it's very rare. So either here, they're going very sort of big brain, highbrow, and purposefully choosing something they know is really difficult, or even they're choosing it because it's impossible. But I feel like what's more likely here is that the people who created this shirt were just ripping off a different design, and they chose 2 random numbers because they didn't realize that time signatures usually have to have a multiple of 2 or 4 at the bottom. So this one, we have a Christmas decoration that has the music for Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas written on it. But the music is completely wrong. The tune here sounds not like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, but it sounds like this. You should also be able to tell at a glance that this isn't quite right, because here we have the word Christmas, a 2-syllable word, put on 1 note. So that can't be right. We have to have 1 note per syllable at least. But I actually have a theory to why this is wrong. And maybe I'm giving them too much credit here, but when you write sheet music down, when you publish sheet music, you are publishing a version of that song, and that song is a copyrighted entity. In the same way that if you published a cover version of a song, you would have to pay royalties or get a license. It's the same with sheet music. So perhaps the reason that the sheet music on this thing is inaccurate is to avoid any issues of having to actually license the song Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which is still copyrighted. It's not in the public domain. So let's wrap this video up with some actually sort of good, still tacky, but kind of valid sheet music gifts and novelty items. So we have this one here. Can you work out what that is? Of course, these notes spell out the word face. Shut your face. Excellent humour. Here's an even simpler one. I need a, and then we have arrest. So this one, I like the idea of hiding a word in notation, but obviously they wanted to put a certain word on here, and 2 of the letters don't exist in musical notation, so they had to just write the normal letter there, which I think ruins the joke. But of course this says band geek. So this one, I still think it's a bit rubbish, but at least they have chosen words which can be fully spout out with musical notes. We have I'm a, and then this spells fab dad. So if all of that dodgy sheet music has actually inspired you to learn how to properly write musical notation, then you'll actually be really interested in today's sponsor. It's Timbro. Timbro is a free app that guides you through learning how to play the piano or the guitar in a really visual, easy to understand way. And it's not just for beginners. Many of the pieces on Timbro are really quite challenging. Timbro also has many exercises and lessons on music theory to make you a more well-rounded musician. Also, Timbro is completely free to download and use, so you don't even have to worry about a free trial or giving any sort of credit card information or anything like that. You can download it and get massive value out of it for no charge. So if you're interested in trying out Timbro and developing your skills as a musician, then do download it using the link down below in the description. Also, if you find or know of any other examples of dodgy sheet music, then do please link to them in the comments or send them to me by email, and maybe I'll make a second video about this.